but at the age of 13, I was like, I want to know who my dad is. So my mum was just like, right, I'll take you in. She said you can meet them, and it was my grandfather that answered the door. In Punjabi language spoke into the house, and that's when my grandmother came through to the front door, and she's just like, no grandchild, shut the door.
Shut the door in your face?
I lost my mum suddenly. My brother's friend ran up to my door and was like, Stephanie, you need to come down here. What was inside me, all this hurt, anger, grief, I was then projecting it out to my kids, the people who needed me the most and who I needed the most. I was just like, nah, something needs to change. Got up before my kids got up for school, and I would fill my cup, I would do my meditations. So I went for Godzilla to Mary Poppins.
The goddess herself, the social butterfly. Give yourself time with Stephanie. Welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me, Jim. I feel very blessed and feel very honoured to be here to share my story to help inspire others.
Well, it's an honour to have you on. So before we dive right into your inspirational story,
Yes.
Tell us a bit about what you've got going on now, your business and everything that's happening.
So now, currently I've just opened a new centre up in Wisha, the Soul Centre. The Soul Centre does loads of holistic treatments, ceremonies, meditation, massage, Reiki healing, drumming, and it's not only just there for me. There's other rooms for other people to come and shine their light, and it's just about keeping that energy flowing to help and inspire others.
Inspirational. I know you've helped me when I've had my own struggles.
Yeah.
I've come up, I've done a bit of healing. You've surprised me. You're so spooky in a good way. I've been up a few times and I'll be back again.
Thank you.
And what a business you've got, and I wish you all the best with it. And I know it's growing,
Yeah.
and you're helping so many people. So
Thank you.
if you can take me back to the start of your story, your first chapter.
So my first chapter, going through the healing process and trauma and shadow work, I would say all stems from my dad and his side of the family. Growing up, I'm mixed race, so I grew up with my mum and my brother. Then my mum went on to meet another partner, and I've got two brothers now. But back with my own, with my mum, my older brother and myself, we're mixed race, so he's Sikh and my mum's Scottish. My mum brought me up and I never seen my dad. So he took to India for an arranged marriage, and through their cultural choices, my mum and my dad couldn't be together, but they genuinely loved each other. My mum wanted to change over to Sikhism.
So your mum and dad were together when they were young?
Yep.
2 kids?
Yep.
And then your dad was taken to India to have an arranged marriage?
Yeah, when my mum was pregnant with me. So she
Right.
had my older brother, and then she fell pregnant straight away with me. My mum wanted to change over to Sikhism. With my dad being the only boy, he was told no. So his parents took him to India and had an arranged marriage, which they started a family straight away. So I've got a brother from my dad's end. I'm about 6 months older than him. And then my mum was left to raise me and my brother.
So your mum done the work of the
Both
mum and the dad?
parents, yeah.
So what age were you in? No, so it must have been hard growing up, just a single mum. What was school life like then?
So back then we were only mixed race kids in the school. So it could be quite challenging. I never took the challenge on. I loved this colour of my skin. I embraced it. My brother, he wasn't so much embracing it, but it didn't bother me. My mum had a big family, so she was one of 8 children. So it was my aunties and my uncles that brought us up, and we just get brought up with all my family round about us. But at the age of 13, I was like, I want to know who my dad is.
I was about to ask you there what
And I
age you
jumped
were
in.
when you were starting to ask questions,
Yeah.
as you would do. I would be the same.
Mm-hmm.
So you were 13,
Yeah.
you were asking your mum, I want to meet my dad,
Yeah.
who is he? Of course you would be.
Mm-hmm.
So can you talk me through that?
Yeah, so my mum was just like, right, you're the last she knew, his family lived in Glasgow, so she did say, I'll take you in. She said, you can meet them. All I'm going to say to you is, Stephanie, don't be expected to be welcome with open arms. So she never ever spoke bad of him, or we never knew much. And I was just like, what's that supposed to mean? You know? So on our way, we went into Glasgow. My mum took me up to their house, chapped the door, and it was my grandfather that answered the door, and he was there in his turban, and like, do you know, that way you don't know what to expect. And my mum was just like, this is Stephanie, she's wanting to meet her father now. So he's in Punjabi language spoke into the house, and that's when my grandmother came through to the front door, and she's just like, no grandchild, shut the door.
Shut the door in your face.
Aye.
Then what happened?
Well, I'm like, boom, get back to India. Absolutely erratic. In a state, felt so much rejection, pain. My mum's like, please calm down. But some of the words, what I said, I don't even want to repeat, because I ended up racist against my own kind through this traumatic event, thinking, how could possibly I be shut the door in my face? And it was my mum was white, so we were never accepted, you know. And then I went down that story, and my mum did say, that's when I found out. My mum said I wanted to change over to Sikhism. She said, I didn't want to say this to you because I didn't know if you would be welcome or not, but that was the response.
So you had to then live with that.
Yep.
Went through all the years, from age 13, into your later teenage years,
Yeah.
into adulthood, still just being with your mum, being fully westernised,
Yep.
but still having that in the back of your mind.
Yeah.
Like, I want to meet my dad, and having that, it must have been hard carrying that with you all that time. So you'll see what age were you? When I know you told me you got married. You just told me that there, you know, you're
Yep,
a dark horse. So what age
That's
were
a
you?
bit we can skip.
Aye.
So going back to when I was 13, my dad tried to reach out to me. So he found out I was at the door, and his family told him, and he tried to reach out to me, and he got me on a phone call. I don't know if he came to the door, but my mum gave him a number of some sort, and he's like, Stephanie, I want to meet you. And at this point I was like, no, I don't want to meet you. I don't know who you think you are, or who you think yous are. Yous can go back to India. Because at this point I wasn't having it. I was just like, no way. And then I went on to the years. So he did try and reach out, but I wasn't having it.
You weren't having it because...
Again, this was the effect of this traumatic event that happened at the door. So then I like, in a way, stalled mine and my dad's relationship through the choices mum was telling me, if that makes sense.
Aye, so you're carrying that about with you.
Yep.
So for age 13 up to, what age were you when you said you got married?
I got married 25.
And
25.
divorced that same year?
Married and split up the same year, yep.
Obviously wasn't meant to be.
I was with him for years. I was with him for high school, then we went our own way, and then I met him at like 17, and then get married. But like that, the marriage never lasted. I raised my worth. I just wasn't prepared to put up with stuff that didn't value me, you know. And when you go through, like now I've learned going through the loss of my dad, not the loss, sorry, the rejection, the abandonmentship, we invite people into our life, even though the love's not acceptable, we just accept it, because that unhealed trauma then carries on through your life.
It's that female pain body that we were speaking about earlier, when you're looking for something out with yourself to validate, to make you feel whole. People go relationship to relationship, or they look for materialistic gains, and obviously that wasn't going to work for you. So you had to dig deep into your soul.
Yeah.
So I'm interested. So after the divorce, you were 25 by then.
Yep.
When did you actually start making contact then between your dad and the family?
So when I was 25, before I get married, I was like, I want to go back in. I was like, now I'm older, I want to meet him now, because at that age I was 13, and my dad did want to meet me, but I just wasn't having it. And I felt a marriage was a big thing in my life. So
see, sorry to cut you off. So see, at age 25 then, right? Have you never met your dad at this point?
No.
Even though you went to the door that day when you were 13, he was in the house.
No.
You've still never met him?
No.
So can you tell me about the very first time then that you...
Yeah, so we went back in and they lived in a flat. So we actually buzzed a buzzer and told them, we just said was it so-and-so because Mr. Singh wasn't in. And they buzzed us in. So as we were walking up the stair, he was coming down and he noticed my mum and he went, Jeanette, and he's like, and she said, Stephanie's wanting to meet you now. And he says, well, please don't go to the door. He's like, yeah, take my number. He said, we won't get anywhere if you go to the door. My parents are there, but we can speak out with it. So that's what happened. We spoke out with. I took his number and I thought, okay, I'll give him a chance. We can speak out with.
And so he was hiding that for the family.
Aye.
In a way, because it's like a sin to them.
Yep.
But obviously he still had that love for you.
Yeah.
And he wanted to rekindle the relationship. So where did it go for there then?
So then we met up and he was coming through to my mum's and we were just talking, and my older brother wasn't interested. He was just like, he lived with my mum, although he has got a disability. He's got silver whistle syndrome and he doesn't process stuff the same way we do, and even emotion. So he's very like cut off. It doesn't affect him, which is a good thing for him. But I was like a roller coaster, up, down. So he wasn't affected in any way. But when he came through, it was like him and my mum were rekindling feelings. And I'm like, where do I come into this? So he was coming over and meeting us and then going back to his family where he lived with his mum and his kid. No, his mum and his kids, because the arranged marriage he had never succeeded. So they split up maybe 5 years in, I'm not too sure. And he brought his kids up in his mum's. And then it was like as if he was living two lives, over at us, back with him, over at us, back with him. So
see, by this time in your life, what age are you then? You're 25, 26?
25. Because that was, no, about 24, sorry, because I got married at 25, so this was the year before.
So see then, you're still carrying that pain body about with you. Are you, after the divorce, then getting involved in other relationships that are not really suited to your soul? Like we spoke about, looking for something to validate you. They're breaking down, it's not working. So when did, I know you had a lot of trauma. So before this happened, were you into spirituality? Were you into healing? You didn't really go down that path?
Wasn't into it at all, and probably I was a bit more egoist, the ego kicking in, materialistic.
Judgmental, stuff like that.
Very much like that, spoilt brat. And I was just nowhere near to the power and the strength I have within my own soul, knowing that I don't need outside validation, even for family members or anyone else. Like, you need to love the soul within to know who you are. So, yeah.
No, and honestly, you never cease to amaze me every time I sit with you. Mad stuff starts happening. I come for healing, I'm like, oh my God, Stephanie, there's rainbows appearing now as soon as I've left the door. And you're a true healer. So I'm going to dive into the trauma that you experienced, right? And that's what brought you to your true power, where you sit right now. So if you can talk me through it for the start, what happened that day. I know it's emotional. So
with my dad, though, I'll jump to this bit because at 24, 25, I just want to wrap this bit up. It wasn't going well, and I just said, you can't be living two lives, you know, at least tell them who am I. They don't need to accept me, but you're still not living two lives, which you wouldn't do. So I said to my mum, right, you need to pick, mum. And I said, I'm going in to tell your mum then if you don't. Still not healed within my soul, because I'm like, I just want them to accept me. I'm here and this is it. So I said, I'm going in to tell them then. So I went in and my mum phoned and said, Stephanie's on her way in. My mum came with me and I'm chapping the door. And
5'1" powerhouse.
And I'm just like, my dad came and he's like, Stephanie, my mum's not here. Like, I can't tell them you're not here, you're here. And then another family member came round and they're just like, we'll phone the police on you. I was like, you'll phone the police on me? For what? For what? What? Because I want to see my gran? Phone them. I'm saying, I'll get used done for racism, for not accepting me. But then I was just like, do you know what? This is done. And me and my mum went home, and then basically that was it. And I started getting a wee bit into an understanding 5 years later of, like, I was just looking for all this love of them and to be accepted. But I didn't need to be validated off of them, but I didn't know this at the time. So as the years went on...
Is that another gap then?
Aye, so there was a gap. So there was a 5, so I just was like, it's done, went and get married. That never worked out. Invited other relationships into my life, which obviously I wasn't healing for one relationship because I had a breakdown in a marriage. And you're jumping to the next, even though you're still in love, you know, that way you need to heal. So there was a gap, there was a 5-year gap, and I was thinking about my dad, and I was just thinking, like, that behaviour of me wasn't acceptable on him, but neither was their behaviour. But doing the shadow work within, I realised then it wasn't his fault, that he had to stand by his cultural beliefs or the way he was brought up. And then I was just like, that's quite sad, the way I've acted, and mine and my dad's relationships being torn apart and not be able to flourish in a way because of that. And then at that point, we parted, and I was thinking about him, and I'm thinking, I wish I could see him again to, like, actually say, look, I know this isn't your fault, you know, and it's just the way you've been brought up. And I was walking in the Dindal Forge Market in Glasgow, and I'm walking past, and then he's walking in front of me, and I'm like, is that my dad? You know, that way? And he's looking at me and I'm looking at him, and he walks past me, so I turn round and he turns round and he's like, Stephanie, he's like, is it safe to talk to you? Put his hands up.
Get attacked here,
and I'm like, about that, I'm so sorry. And then
how long had you not seen him since then, that time?
So that was 6 years.
6 year gap again.
6 year gap again. And at this point, no, I'm at an understanding, like at an understanding of, I'm just thinking, how can you not stand up for your kid? How can you not tell them I'm here? How can they not accept me? But actually, it was nothing to do with him as a person, and it's nothing to do with his parents either. What's inside us projects out in us. So it's a learned behaviour, you know, and it's beliefs and things like that, and like that, it can be sinned upon because you don't know their cultural background, and his parents moved over from India. So you're just in this wee bubble of it's your way or the highway. Well, I was. And then we went for a coffee, and he just said to me at that, nothing's changed though, Stephanie, but I had said I'm willing to build a relationship with you out with, like, I'm not needing your family's acceptance, I'm not needing MD's. I think we should just start off one foot at a time.
Oh, that's great. So by that time you were starting to understand.
Yeah.
And you were seeing it from his point of view, and you were willing just to accept the relationship between you then. But that's amazing. So this will be difficult to speak about, Stephanie, right? But take me to the time where the trauma came, and that's what really set you off into a dark path, going right to the bottom of the realms and then rising back up to your power. Okay,
so for that year I had my mum and my dad. Always had my mum, never had my dad. Healed that relationship with my dad, and we were building on it for a year. And then my mum just said, I'll stay out it, Stephanie, this is between you and your dad. And I said, okay. So my mum was a great support with me. She looked after the kids. I've got 2 beautiful boys, which I've blessed to have. They've saved me in ways they'll never know. So she was a great support with the kids. And she was as fit as a fiddle. She was like the community scheme mum. She was just there for everybody. She would make pots of soup, go round the flats, go round the houses, and when it was the summer or anything like that, she put on big garden parties for it. Like, she was just that person. So she looked after the kids for me, and I lost my mum suddenly. My oldest son at that point was 12, and I normally do night shift, and then in the Friday morning my phone wasn't on silent for some reason, obviously for that reason, and my son phones me and says to me, "Mum, you'll need to come down here." He said, "My gran's not fit to take us to school," and I'm thinking, it's not like my mum. So goes down, and my mum gets up. No, you've been working, go up the road out. I said, "No, Mum," and she was shaking, but I could hear her being sick in the bathroom. So I said to her, "No, Mum, you're not taking them to school, I'll take them to school." So took the boys to school, got an emergency appointment, went down to the doctors, took my mum to the doctors. We were sitting there for an hour waiting, and I had to say at this point, "Look, what's happening with my mum? She's not comfortable, she's wrenching." They had to get a bucket with sickness, and she was next to get took. On the Friday, as soon as we went in, she was running an hour late, and the doctor had said, like, she's prone to kidney infections, never took her vital signs, urine sample to know it was a kidney infection, gave her antibiotic prescription.
So there was no test done or nothing?
No.
It was just, that's what's wrong with you. Here's the antibiotics.
Yep. And then we left, but as we were walking out, my mum did say, like, that's definitely not my kidneys, but I'll take the antibiotics and see how I go. So this was on the Friday. On the Sunday, I was doing CPR on my mum. My brother's friend ran up to my door and was like, "Stephanie, you need to come down here." And I went down, and my mum was passed out on the floor. So I was doing CPR. We phoned the ambulance, and they came out, and we couldn't get her back. At this, my son had ran up and knew something was happening in the house. The ambulance came in, and they were just like, "Sorry, we've lost her." And my son had collapsed on the spot, and the ambulance had to bring him round as well. So it was like a traumatic event. My mum also had a scar in her head when she's came unconscious. She's banged her head, so she'd had a cut. And then when the CID had came, we all had to get questioned individual, and it was like heartbreaking, because I'm thinking,
so you've just lost your mum, and they're doing an investigation because she's fell and hurt her head.
Yep.
So that, again, so you're not fully aware of what's really happening, because you're in that much shock, I would imagine, and they're still asking you questions individually. The kids as well.
See, to be honest with you, I can only remember snippets of what happened, because everything happened so quick, but I can just remember standing in the kitchen, and we did get asked individual and getting asked these questions. I was being sick at the time and stuff, like, I can't remember everything because it was so sudden. I can remember
hard
my
trauma.
son passing out, and I can remember the police there and doing the CPR, but yeah, it was really horrific.
So speak me through what happened after that then. I know obviously you've delved right into deep depression.
Yep.
The pain, the trauma, grief.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember much about what happened after that, the next few days?
So after it, I was in a bad place. I was numb. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't function. And I asked the doctor at this, like, I need something to help me switch off. I said, I don't want antidepressants because I want to go through the process of grieving. I says, but I need to sleep, like, I cannot switch off. And at that point they gave me anatriptyline and sleeping tablets. So I was getting medication off the doctor.
Such a shock. So I know you spoke to me when you were taking these medications and you were going to your bed and you were dreaming about your mum. You were waking up. What happened then?
So with the medication would, like, get me to sleep, but they didn't keep me to sleep. And then when I was taking this medication, I was having nightmares, and I was waking up in pools of sweat and waking up crying, thinking, because the dreams I was having, I'm like, but dreaming as if I'd just buried my mum alive. But I'm thinking, when I woke up, I actually had a dream that my mum wasn't here, you know, that way. And I'm like, and then I was thinking, is she here, is she not here? But my head was like mush. So with the medication, it was making me worse. I didn't know what was real and what wasn't real, you know, that way. So I was reliving the pain all over because my mum had actually passed. But I'm thinking, like, I'm dreaming of it.
So you're reliving that. So you're waking up and thinking it was all a dream.
Aye.
And then it takes you a few minutes to realise this has actually happened to you. And so how long were you on these medications for in that dark place?
I think it was like maybe 4-6 months. I was just like
taking like a zombie.
Taking the medication because I'm like, I need to numb this pain. It wasn't fair on the kids. I was with Anton's dad at the time. So after my marriage, I met Anton's dad and had another. That's my second son. So we were with each other at the time, and he took time off work at the start to help with myself, but we never lived together either. So I was just like, I need to pull myself together. Like, I've got these 2 kids here, and they 2 kids, like especially Jamie, he was like that. He was his grand's boy, you know. Aye. He was like that with her. And Anton, he was 4. He was in primary 1. He was taking panic attacks going to school and stuff because my mum used to always watch him going to school. So he then had to go into morning club in the morning. So he needed a wee inhaler because he would take panic attacks because he wanted his gran. So therefore, it was... So
the trauma, it was spread through the full family. It was not just yourself, obviously, the kids especially. Imagine what that must have been like at that age.
Yep.
So when did you start to say, right, I need to do something different here? I'm not going to be sitting, taking medication, blocking out the pain. How did you come across healing, and how did that come about?
So when my mum passed, it was the 3rd of December, a year to her 50th party before, and then during that time it was coming up to Christmas, so we had the Christmas and stuff off and time off. I never even had Christmas that year. Me and my son, Anton went to his other nannies to have Christmas because he was still younger, and my older son wouldn't go to his dad's because he didn't want to leave me. We cried the full of Christmas, and then I was like, I can't do this every Christmas. But at this point I wasn't in that mindset. And then they were going back to school, but they were going back and they were crying going to school. I was getting up in the morning tired, frustrated, not knowing what was real, not knowing what wasn't. I was like Godzilla in the morning, to be honest. And the kids would maybe just say like, where's this or where's that? And I'm like, what do you mean, where is it? So then what was inside me, all this hurt, anger, grief, I was then projecting it out to my kids, the people who needed me the most and who I needed the most. And then like they were crying and I was dropping them off to school and I was crying because then I felt guilty because I'm like I'm their mum and now I feel guilty as a mum putting them into school, being so upset.
That's like a natural response for most people that are going through trauma. They don't know how to heal themselves. We're not taught these things. So we're only taught about going to the doctor, getting medication and not actually going and speaking to somebody, getting that out of there. So of course you're going to act like that and then it gets you upset as well.
So it's like a vicious circle, you know. It's like you're tired, you're crying, you take it out on the people you love, they're then upset, you feel guilty, and then you give them a cuddle to say sorry and then they're like it's okay, and then it's the same again that night. You wake up, you're doing the same all over, and your emotions just go into that cycle. So I was like, do you know something needs to change.
So when did it change, Stephanie?
It changed. I got up one morning and the kids were crying again. I was crying, taking them to school, and I was just like, nah, something needs to change. So it must have been like I was on the medication for 6 months and I worked with the NHS, couldn't go back to my job because I was in fear of like that wasn't a hospital setting I could be in. So I couldn't go back and work there at that time. I had to care for my brother, my older brother, so it was like a whirlwind change. So I couldn't even go back full-time hours anyway because I had to take his care on. So as a mummy too, and looking after my brother, I was like, right, I've got big boots to fill. Like, my mum, wee Nettie, she ran the show, you know. And I was like, no, I need to step into my power here. So at this point, I was like, I'm ditching the medication because that was just making me worse. And I went to see a mind, body and soul therapist. And for that day on, that has just been like strength after strength after strength. And with that, that's took time because it was 6 years ago I lost my mum. So just a year of it was the numbness, the pain, the projection, the all the low vibrations of the pain, and then meeting Lawrence Clifford over in Carfin. Met him, and then I just went on a journey because I'm like, I'm in pain, and he done different like tapping therapy, havening, Reiki,
Right.
and it was like, wow, you know, that way I'm like,
Where did this come from?
aye, and it was like a saviour. It was like an angel has saved me, you know. But I needed to go through all that pain and suffering. But I could still be sitting now in the pain, suffering. My kids upset, and like then they're having this behaviour. So when they have a challenge in their life, how are they going to react and respond? Through crying and not doing nothing about it, sitting in pain, lashing out, you know. And I was like, no.
It's that happens to a lot of people, and it becomes like that victim mentality.
Yep.
Where they're not willing to heal themselves, so it becomes like a blame game then, and nothing changes. They go through the rest of their life in that cycle of the pain barrier, projecting it on the people they love. So talk me through, I'm so interested, because if you can go from nothing to something to everything, and I love all your wee quotes, growth is a process, give yourself time with Stephanie, you're the social butterfly.
I am.
You're only 5'1", but you've got this massive power.
Yeah.
Every time I see you, it lights me up. Such great energy, beautiful vibes, everything about you, such a powerhouse. So when you started getting involved in that, the healing side of things, talk me through that. When did it start to really help you?
I went, my coach at that time, we went to see Dr. Joe Dispenza, like in person, live workshop in Edinburgh. And you had to read his books. So I had like reading to do. This was me doing my soul searching, my soul discovery, because I'm just like, it needs to change. I'm not having my kids getting up in the morning and myself. So went and done his workshop, and then his meditations was about reprogramming the brain, changing your thought process, and the formula, sitting down with the emotion and the gratitude and the formula just to change and rewire your brain, because my emotions were in a state of sadness. Every Sunday, like my mum passed on a Sunday, my body would just shake and be sick, you know, and it would come in a Sunday at 1 and my body would just vibrate and be sick because it was in that much a state and it was just to the programme. So it was changing the programme. It was like deleting that programme, sitting through my meditations, and I would get up at 6 o'clock every morning, whether I was tired or not, and I get up before my kids get up for school, and I would fill my cup. I would do my meditations, calm my body down, and every time you were doing that, you were the right side and left side of your brain, you were winning the victories, and it was becoming a new programme, you know. So I went for Godzilla to Mary Poppins.
Well, way to describe yourself.
I would get up and the kids would be like, oh, where's this? And I'm like, there's your hot chocolate for school, there's this, what do you need? And they're like,
night and day.
Aye. They're like,
it's amazing how,
what's in my mum's tea?
I know you told me to look into Joe Dispenza.
Aye.
I've been looking into him. He's such an amazing guy.
Aye.
I actually didn't know you were at one of his live events.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't think you told me that before.
Well, that was the first time he came to Edinburgh, and fortunately I actually fell on Mother's Day, and I'm thinking I need to be up at the graveyard maybe, like, you know, because I still wasn't fully understanding. I was still spending a lot of time at the graveyard, and it was my coach talked me around and actually went and said, do you think, you know, this could be the change what your mums want you to have? And thinking it, looking at it in another way, and my God, was that a change? Honestly, like, I just went into so much self-discovery, especially with my meditations. And I was in a relationship at that time. Then a year in, after losing my mum, I realised like I was accepting stuff that I like wasn't acceptable, you know. And I built this strength, I built this resilience and confidence within my own soul. And we had split up as well. From my current partner. So I was then a single mum with 2 kids, and the weight of the world didn't feel like the weight of the world, but it was a big change, caring for my brother, going back to work. I've got a younger brother as well.
It's a great way to explain things, Stephanie. So when you're suffering in that trauma, that low vibration, like you said, you put up with stuff that you should never put up with. You accept toxic relationships. Most people go through that. But when you start having this great awakening, this great power, Mary Poppins appears, then you're realising
with my bag and my wee doll and everybody just comes out.
And it's that vibration, that energy you've got, it just lights up the room.
Yeah.
Right? And so you start to realise, I'm better than this, I don't deserve this. And you start walking away from anything toxic and showing people your true self, your real power. So talk me through the rise then, because it's such a power you've got.
Yeah, the rise was beautiful. Like, even although at that time, right, and I'm just like through so much pain, when the change starts coming in the morning, start feeling better, and things just start happening, you start chasing the buzz, you know, and you're just sitting there in your own presence, your own energy, you're building your own energy, you're making your heart cohere with your head, and your heart just opens like compassion, you know, and you feel this love, but I can't even explain it, to be honest. And the work I went in through the meditations had then went on to doing going on retreats, to because I knew if I had to look after others, my 2 boys, my brother, and my younger brother at the time, because he was only like 20, I think he was 20 at the time, and he lived with my mum. I was like, to look after others, you need to look after yourself. But we don't realise that. We realise like we need to give all the time. We need to give our kids all the time. We want to give them stuff what we never had. But actually, to give ourselves, they reap the rewards. Because if we're good, if we're good, they're getting the best, mum. But if I'm not good and just giving them all the time and not looking after myself, they're getting the Godzilla. Get this, get that, you know. But when I'm good.
You talked me through, when I was going through a hard time, you talked me through this scenario, right? And do you remember it?
Yeah, is it the bread?
The bread one?
Yep.
Can you tell us that again? Because that really stuck with me.
Aye.
Because I wasn't putting, even though I'd got clean, I'd got sober, and I was away for that toxic lifestyle, I still wasn't willing to put the proper work in.
Aye.
Like healing my own soul. And you were talking me through, and I was acting like Godzilla sometimes, trying to get the kids ready for school. Wee James, you'd get him ready, you go back and he's not got his shoes on. The one's fell out the window and he's got one under the couch. And so it was really difficult, especially being a single dad, because I really struggled in that. But when you said that scenario, Amy, can you take me through that?
Aye, so I can remember talking to you and you're at the kids, and you were there for a lot of people, and you were helping them and you were inspiring them and you were going through your journey. But I was like, remember, you need to look after yourself. Aye, but I do as well, but I do get burnt out. But and I had went and said, right, so if you were locked in a house, I said, with your kids, you were starving, and somebody comes with a piece of bread, you're the only one that can answer the door. What do you do with the bread? Who do you feed?
I give it to the kids.
Right. So 2 days passed, the door goes again, there's another piece of bread. Somebody comes, you're the only one that can answer the door, but there's no right or wrong answers. Who do you give the bread to?
Being the father that I'm I give the bread to the kids.
Right, so the 3rd time somebody comes to the door, you're the only one that can answer the door, but you can't get up to answer the door. So what good are you to your kids if you don't also feed yourself?
And see, when you said that to me, it really stuck with me.
Aye.
And since then, even though I've not been 100% in on myself, which I should be doing more work, I've done a lot.
Aye.
Done a lot of work, and I think it's such a great example. It's such a great scenario to give, because now I don't get that crazy stressed out way going to school. It's just like, right, okay, come on, and everything's fine. But honestly, so that's just one of your wee scenarios you've told me.
No, and that's the thing, like, see, single mums especially, we want to give our kids more because we're trying, even as a dad, you're making up for the other parent not being there, and you just think give, that's the way, you know, but it's actually no, because when we give, we end up depleted, and then they end up getting the dregs of us, you know, and we go in that cycle of the guilt. So if there is any single mums listening, like, that's what I really put out, to look after yourself and to look after others, and for to be the best mum, the best friend, the best employee. You need to fill with something with you yourself, you know, and that could, whatever it is, everybody's wants are different and needs are different, and what makes them happy is different, so they need to fill their cup. Yep.
It's a great way to put it. So run me through. You're on the rise.
I'm on the rise.
No,
so
and
I'm now Mary Poppins.
You're Mary Poppins, and taught
yep.
me, I know you done you rented a room out to start up your own holistic kind of practice. And
yeah,
how
so
did you get involved in that?
So I still worked in care. So I still worked with the NHS, and I worked in private care because I couldn't go back to NHS full time. So I went and worked with one-on-one, which I still do. I've built up a relationship with his mum, so like, there's an emotional connection there, and no matter where I go in my life, I think I'll still come back and care for this guy. It's just, you know, that emotional attachment. So worked in private care, worked in with the NHS, and when I was going on these retreats to look after myself, I done emotional health and wellbeing, and I done Reiki. So I done the Reiki for myself, which is an energetic healing that comes from the higher and channels through us. And when I done it, I was like, I need to do that in other people. So I was like, okay, but I was on the journey, like the self-development journey for myself for 2 or 3 years before I opened up my own place. So I started with renting a room out, and then I done 2 or 3 days in the room, worked in the care to pay my bills in the NHS, but I just knew I was striving for more, because everybody would say to me, like, Stephanie, what have you done different? Because I used to go about with a hood over my head, not wanting to talk to anybody. When that happened to my mum, they're like, what are you doing different? And then it just went down for the holistic healings. Got the room like a year ago, worked in the room, and now doing the Reiki healing, like, I do feel I'm gifted with the Reiki healing. Not what I'm better than anybody, but you know, you get footballers, and then you get Beckham and Messi, and you get like singers, and you get Beyonce and Shakira, and then like you get loads of Reiki practitioners, and I just feel like the stuff I've had, and the distance healing and the feedback I've had from others, like, it blows my mind.
Oh, it blows my mind, because
it blows, honestly.
And it all goes, it's all based on the inner work that you're doing. That's
but
where you're getting that real energy.
It comes from my grandmother, from my dad's side, because holistic healing, yoga, meditation, all originates in India. So I was reading a book, and it all originates in India, and I'm like, oh my God, this is in my blood. Like, I need to get on my knees and thank my dad for giving me this through my ancestors.
The ancestors. So I can vouch for you, because I'm sure you were on one of our retreats, and I was a bit run down towards the end, and you says to me, I'll walk you down to the cottage, and I'm saying, what's she up to? She's going to put a spell on me.
Here we go.
Aye. And we went into the room, and you says, no, I want to do Reiki on you. And you says to me, you're not speaking your truth. And I got triggered a wee bit. I thought, what do you mean? I'm not speaking my truth, but I wasn't to myself in a way. And you could see that I was a wee bit all over the place, because I'd been running about for like 12 hours non-stop, doing all the stuff. And we went into the wee room, you put the music on.
But can you remember you said, you're like, Stephanie, I've not been sleeping. You said, so I'll no fall asleep, because I said, if you go to sleep and you drift off, I said, I'm not going to wake you up, I'll just go away. And you're like, oh, I've not been sleeping. Remember?
Oh, I remember it very well. I can't forget it. And I says to you, I'm thinking to myself, I know she's good, but this will not work on me because it's me and I don't sleep well and I've got all this stuff going on in my mind. So he says, lie down on the couch. You put the music on, you dim the lights. The wee fire was on, if you remember. And then he says, just relax, shut your eyes. And you started doing the Reiki, the energy transformation. And something crazy happened because I was out like a light within minutes. And I woke up about 5:30 in the morning. And I was like, where is she? I thought it was still in that moment. And then I checked my phone and it was 5:30 and I thought, that's crazy.
Aye.
I was just out. So for how long was it? It was only a few minutes.
20 minutes I done it. So 20 minutes Reiki is equivalent to 1 hour's body rest. But I did say to you, but you were out. I did say to you, in a couple of minutes you were out.
I was out the game.
Aye. And you slept right through as well.
Slept right through and I felt great the next day. And I've came to your place of work.
Yeah.
The Soul Centre, I've been there, you've done Reiki, you've done drumming healings, we've done cacao, and it blew my mind, and I was getting these wee messages coming to me, and it's just like constant wee healing things, wee steps on the journey, and you're amazing at what you do, and honestly, and that really stuck with me. So you were working part-time in the wee room you were renting?
Yep, so I do, so I was saying my gran, because I feel day parts within, and I was really getting into my Indian culture, and I started going to the temple and praying and just like being thankful for actually being me and having this acceptance within myself. And this was through the healing of the journey of my mum. So got one room, rented one room in a place, and then I done that for a year, and I was just thinking I want to go to India. I was like, I want to go to India.
See, before you tell me that story, you mentioned the temple there. I know you've got a funny story for there. It's not that funny.
No, it's no.
Can you tell us that before we get into the India part?
Healing these parts within, with my dad, building the relationship, I started going to the temple, and then triggers come up again because I'm in the temple. And because I'm talking to my dad, and we're always talking every week, there was a woman, and she kept eyeballing me like, if looks could kill, I'd be dead. And I'm thinking, putting my protection over me.
Who is this woman?
And then my dad had said to me, that's my ex-wife, like, it's not really, don't make eye contact with her, like, she lashes out, she's not the nicest person. So that was her that
he had the problem with it broke up after the 5 year.
And like, their kids don't talk to her either, like it was quite bad. So she obviously didn't know who I was. And then when I was going in there, and my dad had left early, and I was walking down the stair, and she started shouting at me, and I'm just like, in Punjabi, and I'm just looking like, sorry, I do not understand a word you're saying, and she looked at me confused.
But it was good that you were in that place, because I'm sure one time it was Mother's Day as well. And it could have triggered you, and you could have reacted in a way that would upset yourself, but you didn't. You just took it.
But do you know, like, I did feel at a point, like, going through this in maybe the last couple of years, like, what do I need to do to be accepted? Because I came, like, close, like, in contact. We were at a Diwali event in the temple, and my brother was there, and my sister from my dad's side. But in respect of my dad, he wants us to talk, you know, and it's a respectful thing. But I just said, like, Dad, don't force him to speak to me. I was like, I'm like, you don't need them to talk to me before I'm like, tell them.
You want that acceptance, that validation?
And now I'm like, no, and it's made them feel uncomfortable. And I just had a conversation with him and just said, look, I said, it might be awkward, but he's not just your dad, he's my dad as well. I said, and I come to the place of prayer. I said, for me, I said, I actually used to go to another temple. I contacted the temple and told them, look, I'm mixed race and my own father's not ready to accept me now, and I can understand, like, it's a big change for him. I said, but could you bring me in, I said, and show me the ways, like show me the rules and how to pray and the do's and the don'ts, what to wear and stuff. I said, because I don't know nothing. And that woman took me in, and I used to go and pray myself, and she took me in and showed me all the ways. And my dad said to me, he actually came round to the temple at one point and was like, you can come round to the temple I'm in, Stephanie. And I went, no, I'm happy here. I'll come round when I'm ready, because I just thought, this is my journey, I'm doing it for me. So I did say that to my dad's son. I went and said, I actually started off praying, I said, in another temple. I said, and I see myself as a spiritual being. Doesn't bother me if it's a temple, mosque, church, chapel, wherever. I'm a spiritual being. I says, but I don't need them to validate me now. I said, and for years I did. I said, and for years I was in pain, and I was actually racist against my own kinds. Even like the way I used to not give people respect in shops or stuff, because I'd be like, who do they think they are? I said, but not now. I said, and I'm actually going to India next year. This was like a year ago. I said, I'm going to India next year. I said, and I'm going over to a school over there to study meditation. I said, because I've learned the science over here with Dr. Joe Dispenza. I said, and now I want to go and experience the spiritual side because I'm ready. And he's like, oh, I wouldn't go yourself. I said, why? And he's like, I just like, it's not safe for you to go yourself and stuff like that. I was like, that's just your perception. I said,
when you're the social butterfly, so you've travelled yourself anyway.
Yeah.
What a story that was. So how long were you in India for?
So I went on my travels for 6 weeks because I was over there a few days before. Then I went to India, done 4 weeks over there, stayed in a school. They were just amazing.
I was following you, your journey on social media.
Yeah.
Amazing. I seen the classes, the setup. So was it every day a school day there?
Oh my God. 6:30 in the morning to 8:30 at night, every day apart from a Sunday.
And what did you do on your Sunday? Did you go adventuring yourself?
Oh, we had a great time. me and the students gate crashed a wedding. There was a wedding on, and they were like, oh, come in, have some food. And we're standing in leggings, sliders, and they're all in their beautiful saris, makeup, absolutely stunning. And they're going, can we have a picture with you? And I'm standing with a curry and a cracker in my sandals. So it was showered by love.
That was massive progress on your journey.
Yep.
To get you to where you're now. So you done all your meditation practices. You learned so much. So
when the room I rented for the year, I just done my holistic healings and my Reiki healings, and it was a small room. So I knew I was going to India, so I gave that room up because I said, when I come back, I need a bigger room. I want to do
bigger here.
Yeah, I want to do workshops. And she offered me the bigger room, and I just thought, no, because then I would still have to share it with other people, and I thought there's more out there for me. So I went to India and then done all my spiritual stuff over there. And I don't know, there was another part unblocking, that way, because growth is endless. Like you're always healing parts or within you, or you're always unlocking parts, So I came back and I never had anywhere, and I just made negotiations with the universe and was just like, you present me with the right premises, the right price, I'll put on free meditation classes and chant classes at the end of the month. Like, this centre's not just for me, it's for other people as well. So I was making negotiations, sitting in meditation, asking, receiving. It was absolutely brilliant. Talking to my mum through meditation, like, because you channel a beautiful energy, and it's no imagination, it's
manifestation.
It's angels and guides and the whispers coming to speak to you, So then, because I never had any premises, I contacted a woman who holds a beautiful sacred space up in Awakening in Wisha. She's such a good soul as well, and I started doing my 2 classes every week in there, and then I get presented with a building, and I was like, so I just thought I was going to see one room because it was advertised like that, and then I went in and you go through the back and it's got 4 other rooms, and I'm thinking, oh no. I was like, this is too much. I wasn't looking for that, and he had went and said, look, I can do this and this, and over the 2 year we can reassess it if you want to take it like back on for there.
So right away you knew this was the place. So where did you come up with the name?
I don't know. I was thinking, what am I going to call it? Because I couldn't call it a retreat centre. Like, no, I couldn't call it a retreat, and I couldn't call it a salon, and that way, like, it's like, where does the holistic side fit in it? And then I was just like, and just up the road is the commercial, and that's called the Soul Suite. So I kept saying, up to the Soul Suite, and then I'm like, no, he's nicking up to the Soul Suite, the Soul Centre. So I'm like, I think it's better under a centre, and it just...
The Soul Centre, the name came and it stuck.
The Soul Centre, it stuck.
And can you talk me through the Soul Centre now? So how long have you been doing it?
So I came back from India, stopped off at Dubai, had some fun in Dubai, and then came home, had my workshops going on 2 places up Wishes, and I was still working in care because I had that to do. And then in the July I got the centre, and I had to revamp it. So I opened in the August, and now for the August to the now, this is going into the new year. I'm setting my foundations strong. And it's been beautiful. I've revamped it, and I've got 2 other girls in the back rooms now. I've still got 1 to rent out, but I was using that for people to come and go. So like, if I had a mediumship in, I had somebody doing nails in, because people that want to follow their dreams can't be full time in there because they're still doing their living. So it's good for them to just drop in and get a feeling, still fulfill their dreams. So I've got now 2 people in, and I'm doing my own, and I've got 1 room left.
It's an amazing story, Stephanie. So, like I said previously, I've been to the Soul Centre, and it's always, I feel great when I leave there, and I'll be back again soon. Can you tell me a wee bit more detail about the Soul Centre? I know you're doing meditation, you're doing Reiki, you're doing drumming, so it's a combination. You also get a friend that hosts different events, like fireworks, bow and arrow stuff. Talk me through a wee bit of that.
So Dave, he comes through. I met him at Lendrick Lodge. Lendrick Lodge has been a big part of my healing as well. That's where I done my Reiki. In Victoria, the Reiki master there, she's 7th down in the lineage for Dr. Ushi, who's on my wee board here. And she's just a vibration that way. You just need to be in her presence, and you can feel being lifted. And her partner at the time, Stephen, he does like shamanic work, and he's just something else as well, and he does the firewalks. And when you go up there, it's just like another world, and we are surrounded with this, but it's just the environment what you're in, and it's like, how did I not know about this, you know? So that's where I met Dave. So now Dave comes on board with myself, which, you know, he's done a firewalk in your retreats, and it's unlocking parts within your soul. Like walking in fire, people might be like, oh my God, walking in fire. I would rather walk in fire than go in cold water therapy. Like, I've done the cold water therapy, but it's like you learn to dance with the flame. Like, you learn to, your pain, you learn to dance with the flame. What a
great feeling. When I done the firewalk, I was the first one over the fire that night.
Aye.
And I was terrified. And see, it's like being liberated.
Yeah.
So when you cross over the fire, you get to the other side, it's like you get a crazy feeling come over me. Like, I was like, if I can walk in fire, I can do anything. And it was liberating.
Yep.
But when you're combining that with all the other stuff, putting the work in, the growth is endless, as you said.
And can you remember at the firewalk, I got a phone call, and my son at that time, my oldest son, he was actually, I got a phone call to say his pappy was passing over, and you said something wrong.
I remember it very well, because I says to you, there's something wrong, but what's the matter? And you told me the story. And I says to you, listen, if you need to go, you need to go. And your response was, I don't know where you got this power. You handled it so well.
Aye.
Whereas most people would break down, they would, myself included, when a family member's nearing the end of their life. You handled it like a true, powerful spiritual warrior that you are.
So it was actually, my son phoned me, and I said, I'll come home. And he's like, no, Mum, you're not driving in the dark. You can come home in case anything happens to you. He's like, just you stay there and come home in the morning. Remember, I got up early.
That's right.
Early hours to go home. And we done the prayers and we walked for his pappy, and we sent the healing, because I asked, remember, everybody. No, in fact, I never asked everybody. I done it personal. But it's like that, and that's a good example to understand where the meditation, the healing work, the strength within, because it's not sitting in meditation and thinking, right, is something changed? It's when outside things in the world happen, because it's not as if, oh, Stephanie's got a breeze in the park now, she goes to India, she's in her zen, she's in her flow. I've still got challenging situations. I've got 2 sons, you know, I've got ex-partners, I've got my brothers, I've got a business running now. I've got a lot to handle, but it's in the chaos. It's finding the calmness in the chaos. So when challenging situations come up in your life, you know how to react and respond different. Still feeling the emotion, because just there that year, one of the most painful things ever was to watch my son watching his pappy passing, because it just erasing all the pain to the surface through my mum. It was like losing her all over again, because his pappy was my dad before my dad even was my dad, you know. So it was like really, really challenging, and him and his pappy was like that. And my son now, he's still going through the process, the grieving process like myself. But when these challenging situations, because that is life comes, nothing's permanent. Age, jobs, people, friends, relationships, nothing's permanent, and we live and we do die, but we look at it as like it's just the way we handle challenging situations. And when this happens, I could have spiralled down, medication, not want to deal with the world,
self-medicating as well. A lot of people turn to alcohol and drugs when they're dealing with stuff like that, traumatic events. So I've got nothing but admiration for you, Stephanie. So before we finish up on the episode, right, if you've got a great message that you could send out to everybody watching in the audience, what would it be?
For everybody watching, if they are going through a hard time and suffering pain, and if they have chosen to use alcohol, drink, medication, whatever substances they use, that like there is a way out. It's just up to them to make the change, and it's non-judgmental with challenging things happen in our life and we make wrong decisions, but we can also choose to make the right path. And as a single mum and going through rejection, abandonmentship, the grief of my mum, divorce, just loads of challenging situations, if I can do it, and I'm just a girl from the scheme living her dream, anybody can do it.
It's amazing, Stephanie. Honestly, you're a spiritual superstar. And like I said, I've got nothing but the utmost respect for you and admiration.
Thank you.
And thank you so much for coming on the show.
I feel very blessed to be here sharing, and I hope people are listening to go, do you know something, if she can do it, I can do it too.
Amazing, Stephanie. Thanks again, and I wish you all the best with the Soul Centre. I know it's thriving every day, and it's only going to grow. Thank you.
Thank you.